years, researchers have studied running leg movements to determine the best way to run. But unfortunately, very few people have ever discovered anything helpful for run technique when it came to our upper bodies. Until now. Finally, researchers out of the Institute for Biomechanics in Zurich, Switzerland performed a study that discovered a way to move our upper bodies when running that actually reduces the amount of energy we use when we run. And the really interesting thing about their findings is that it was the exact opposite of what the researchers expected would happen. What's up, motivators? My name is Taryn. When ordinary people want to accomplish something extraordinary in endurance sports, they choose our totally free Motive training plans. You're ready to take on that next big endurance challenge? Let's do it. This study, called The Relationship Between Longitudinal Upper Body Rotation and Energy Cost of Running in Junior Elite Long Distance Runners, put sensors on the trunk and the upper body of 37 female and 49 male college runners. They used the sensors to see how much the runners rotated their upper body in relation to their lower body. Now, what we would expect to see is that moving more uses up more energy, right? But that's not what they found, and that's why this study is so interesting. Let's use this disgusting 40-year-old Smurf to show the three main things that they found in this study. When they looked at what they call upper trunk rotation, they found that females had more shoulder rotation side to side in relation to their lower body than males. Now, the second thing that they found is that as runners ran faster, they needed to have more shoulder rotation as well. Finally, and this is where it gets really cool, they found that there was a small negative correlation between the amount of shoulder rotation and the amount of energy that was used when they run. So what this means is that Smurfs who had more shoulder rotation when they ran actually ran with less energy at the same speed. Now the, well, actually crowd will go and read this study and see that it was just a slightly negative correlation, but the fact that it's negative at all is the interesting thing. The idea that to conserve energy we actually need to move more is a huge finding. And the cool thing about this study isn't that it means that we should all go out and start swinging our shoulders widely. My belief is that the cool thing about this study is that it actually confirms a much more modern way of running than what we've been getting taught for years. You see, for years, run coaches have been trying to fit runners into some notion of a perfect run technique that we should all follow, and it has just led to failures. Many first-year college runners would get fit into this run technique box and would almost instantly plateau or get badly injured by this, air quotes, better run technique. And what new studies are finding is that trying to run in a certain way that doesn't fit how we naturally move doesn't do a good job of making us faster, but it does a really good job of using up more energy and getting us injured. So should we be swinging our shoulders or not swinging our shoulders at all? I think this study points to three things that we should all do. First, we all need to get a good basic run technique down. At the end of this video, I'll link to another video where we've discussed this basic run technique at length, and you can get started doing this in one run per week. Second, we should let our shoulders and arms move however they want. Don't force them into moving more than they want to, but also don't follow the traditional advice to keep your arm movement to a minimum and run with your chest pointing straight forward. Whatever feels natural and loose to you is what you should do. Finally, this is where this video and our training plans get really cool. This study points to the fact that we should all be incorporating mobility into our training plans. The more we run, the more our bodies work to stabilize themselves from the rotational forces. And one way it does this is by limiting the mobility of our torso, which will lead to bad running and a bad life. Most things are made harder and riskier when we have limited torso mobility. And as this study shows, not being able to twist very well means we'll actually be using up more energy when we run. That's why we have included one guided mobility workout per week in our training plans for years. And a lot of coaches and runners have been like, well, don't really worry about all of that mobility. But this study and other studies all point to the fact that by having a little bit more mobility in our torso and being able to naturally want to turn and work with the forces of going side to side in running means that we will run with far less energy. And we can't do that if we're actually stiff and just trying to force our shoulders to move side to side. It has to be natural and fluid. How you can work on this is over the next several weeks, every few minutes during your easy runs, take a big, deep breath, filling up your entire chest cavity, then letting out a big sigh while you're still running. It might sound silly, but this is a cue for your body to let your upper body loosen up. It's a cue to stop holding on to that tension and let your body move however it wants to move and find its natural, loose, and hopefully more efficient run stride. Now, of course, you can't just go work on your technique and expect to run well. You need a good training plan that's personalized to you, and you can get one totally for free by clicking the link that is at the bottom left of the screen, or click the video that's at the top left of the screen to learn all about that basic run technique that I mentioned that all runners should learn. Later, motivators.